In the Washington Redskins opening game, Week 1, Monday Night Football at FedEx Field against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who win the game, they lost 38-16. Josh Norman, when covering Antonio Brown, Antonio Brown had no success whatsoever. Antonio Brown had no receptions, and they had 2 targets to Antonio Brown when Josh Norman was covering him. So the Redskins' decision to not put Josh Norman on Antonio Brown was a very terrible decision, and it's going to cause a lot of people in the football world, as well as Redskins fans, to look deeper into the reasons why they did not put Norman on Antonio Brown. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some NFL with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. What's going on, guys? Now, in their Monday Night Football loss, 38-16 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Washington Redskins did not look too sharp. They didn't look too good. They were the winners last year of what was deemed as the NFC least division. You know, it was a division of a bunch of trash teams, and they just happened to be the better of all the trash teams. But they were never a serious threat to go to the Super Bowl. And everybody knew that going into the playoffs last year. So with that being said, they upgraded their defense this year, you know, with getting Josh Norman to the secondary to add to a defense that already had good pass rushers like the likes of Ryan Kerrigan, Preston Smith, and, you know, the defensive outlook seemed to be a little bit more positive for the Redskins this year. Now, I did not expect them to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I also did not expect them to get straight flattened like they did last night against the Steelers, with D'Angelo Williams running the football like it was 2008, Antonio Brown doing so well. And I want to camp out on Antonio Brown because he had you know, a lot of people were questioning why did the Redskins not put Josh Norman on Antonio Brown. Now, look, I'm going to say this because Josh Norman was in the flat a lot, covering, you know, the guys in the flat. So, with that being said, people wanted to see the guy that they paying this money to be the top shutdown corner cover the number 1 guy in the Steelers, and I think that's just. But I think what it comes down to is this, and this is why I think the Redskins are going to have a hard time. You know, I still think Norman's going to be a productive player, but I still think the Redskins are going to have a hard time maximizing his potential the way the Carolina Panthers did, and it's going to be for this reason. It's because it's for a couple reasons. Number one, they don't have the personnel around Josh Norman for him to play with a certain level of freedom that he had in Carolina. It's just a fact. You can't play with the level of freedom that Norman had in the Panthers system last year because they don't have a Luke Kuechly, a Thomas Davis, you know, just so many Pro Bowl caliber players on the defense. So his role is bigger, but there's a certain trust factor. There's a certain level of trust that's not there from the Redskins staff in Josh Norman's talent level. Because if you guys remember, in training camp, we saw Deshaun Jackson burning Josh Norman on one-on-one. We saw Pierre Garçon getting the better of Josh Norman one-on-one. And I believe that the Redskins were reluctant to put Norman on Antonio Brown because they were scared that Norman didn't have the speed to, number one, stay in front of Antonio Brown, and then if Antonio Brown beat him, he didn't have the speed to close that gap and get back to Antonio Brown. So, did they hurt themselves last night? I mean, yes, they did in a major way because Antonio Brown and the Pittsburgh Steelers still had a major game. You know, D'Angelo Williams himself had like 150 yards. He looked like he was running the ball in 2008 when he was playing for the Panthers. It just wasn't a competitive game. And they're gonna have, like I said, there's gotta be a certain level of trust between coaching staff and Josh Norman. And I don't think the Redskins are just one of those organizations that, like, no matter who they sign, no matter how high profile the name is, a lot of this comes down to just straight up like coaching, and they don't have coaching. They don't have good coaching. They haven't had good coaching in a while. So they're going to have to trust Norman. They're going to have to put him in the position for which the front office paid him to be put in, which is to be the number 1 shutdown corner. And if they don't think that he can be that, then why did you pay him $15 million? It just comes down to that simple question. So we'll see how the Redskins coaching staff adjusts to this. I think, like I said, I still think he's going to be a productive corner in the NFL, but the Redskins are going to diminish. The Redskins aren't going to know how to utilize him. They won't. They're not going to know how to utilize him at all. And their lack of trust in his talent and his abilities to guard the number 1 guy it's gonna cost them, and we'll see what happens. But I'm not too confident in the Redskins situation for Josh Norman, and that's just what it is, man. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I can't really say too much right now. It's only week 1. But you guys let me know what you think. Why do you think Josh Norman didn't cover Antonio Brown in the Redskins 38-16 loss on Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Do you think it was because the Redskins coaching staff doesn't believe that Josh Norman could cover a guy like Antonio Brown? Or do you think it was just a simple matchup within their little offense, or little defensive scheme that they saw better fit for Josh Norman? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Take the time to subscribe, and you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.